Well, we're done with group stages, and we have our semifinalists. To no one's surprise, IG picked TL. I think these are the four teams everyone expected to be there, and I think 3 days ago we probably knew that G2 and SKT were going to be playing each other for the most part. G2 tried to throw a wrench in it a little bit. So did Team Liquid when they were sitting at 2-7 at one point, or 2-6 or something like that at one point, 3-6, and then they had a good last day. G2 did not have a good end of the tournament. They ended 5-5, beat SKT twice, but other than that, the last couple days they looked very vulnerable, and they looked really bad against PVB. But that's a good testament to PVB, Fongvu, and just before we get into that, I do just want to say I think this was a great tournament for Fongvu Buffalo. I know Flash Wolves is a little disappointed, but I think it was a great tournament for them too. I mean, they had to basically change their whole entire organization after they lost Sword Art and Maple. So it was a big change for them. I thought they played well in some of their games. A couple big mistakes might have cost them a couple games or even a spot in the knockouts. So, but overall, Fongvu played great. It was fun to watch. Big Koro getting after it. Zero's super hyper, but Meliodas just had an unbelievable tournament. I thought he was awesome, and it was too bad he had to miss day one due to illness. So big ups to them. I thought they both played great. I thought it was a good showing for them, and I can't wait to see both of them at Worlds.
Yeah, I think this is the four teams we did expect. I will say that one odd thing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Flash Wolves would win more than 3 games.
I
still
agree.
expected IG, SK, G2, and TL to make it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't expect Flash Wolves to finish 3-7.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they would, I just kind of thought they'd take a couple games here and there because they're damn good. That's a good team. They just made a couple dumb mistakes in every game.
Big Baron mistakes.
They very, very easily could have been the 4.
Yeah.
The gap between them and Team Liquid is not extravagant by any means, and I hope
I agree.
no one's trying to act like it is because it's definitely not. And
No.
So, but then also G2 only being 5-5. I mean, if we were just looking at the leaderboard, Team Liquid's one game worse than G2.
Mm-hmm.
But if you watch it on the Rift, it's not close.
Yeah.
In a 5-game series between the two, it would get probably really ugly really quick for TL. But just the way the cookie crumbled and the way some of the games went, and G2 got caught getting too cute. That's what happens when you flex a lot like they do and try and play new stuff all the time. You get caught, and they got caught a few times, and so they ended up 5-5 instead of at the beginning of when it very first opened up, that opening game. I thought they might finish 8-2 and only lose 2 games to IG. I really did, and then they just got kind of clapped a few times trying to get cute. So, but like I said, the 4 teams we expected made it, and that's good for league, and it's great for NA to be in the semis.
Yeah, it's huge for NA. If they didn't get through this, it would have been a shitstorm. We all know it. But I talked about it in one of the reviews I did during the tournament. I wouldn't say there is a small gap between the LMS and NA. I would say there's no gap essentially at this point. From watching Flash Wolves this season, what they've gone through as an organization, losing their two iconic players. Obviously, their head coach. They had to refill that whole entire thing. Now, I'm not saying they didn't get the pick of the litter out there and get some really good players in there. Yeah. They have Betty, but for what they've done to get to this point and look pretty good in some of the games, and like you said, have a really good chance at winning them. To really have it come down to one play, and it was just one of those plays where, when you're not a high-level professional, when you're not a high-level team like an IG or an SKT, you make those type of mistakes, and those things happen. But I would be completely comfortable if they played in NA for the summer split, saying that they'll finish top 3 easy. I think they would finish top 3 no problem in North America. I don't think they'd have any problem over here playing really well. They're a good team. That'll lead us right into the first series. IG Team Liquid. Yeah, you made it. IG was obviously going to pick you. I don't see Team Liquid winning a game in this. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's not like there's no chance of them winning a game, but there's no chance of them winning the series. But I expect a 3-0. I don't know. They haven't looked that great. They looked pretty good in that G2 game, and they turned it back around. But there's just so many mistakes. X Smithy's been non-existent. The only solid player has been Impact.
Yeah, to play devil's advocate, if Team Liquid even has a chance, the only way they're going to win a game is if they. So the first time they played IG in day 2 was as close as they were going to get. Now on the scoreboard they got stomped. They got beat by 12,000 gold. They 23-12 kills, whatever. But the score lines, Doublelift went 6-3 on Kaisa. Like, he had a game. Impact stayed even against the Shy, minus some farm, but he was running Klepto, so he probably made up for a little bit of it. They had a shot in that game if they didn't pick Hecarim jungle and put Jensen on Silas. If those 2 picks could have been traded for anything else, and the Jarvan got banned, that's fine, and the Rek'Sai got picked, but I know that during the game they were talking maybe they'll see Xmithy on Olaf or something. Like, there was 2 or 3, I don't know if he's got an Elise, if he's good at Elise. I would have liked to see Elise in that matchup.
He doesn't have an Elise.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But just, there's a couple, just something other than, no, you cannot, and hopefully someone listens, you cannot run a flashless champion against IG. They will bury you. They will bury you, and they will spit on your grave.
Yep.
You have to have flash. And they did it. They ran the Hecarim jungle, and he got clapped. He was useless.
He was
absolutely
useless. A terrible build, too.
Yeah, it's wrong. And Jensen goes on Silas. Into Rookie's Akali. It's just, the other 3 did fine. They did what they needed to do, and, the point I'm trying to make is I think the best player on Team Liquid's team, even though Doublelift's the one that gets credit, Core JJ is obviously the best player. He's got the pedigree to prove it. And I think he is the best player.
Agreed.
And he hasn't played well. He's played bad.
No, he has played bad.
You have to expect he's going to play well. So if he ups his game, Doublelift keeps playing well, Impact stays on his, you got to get Jensen and Smithy on these just decent. Get him on his Orianna. He didn't feed on Orianna. Like, put him on Orianna, let him farm, let him help, get a shot.
Just get him into something safe against Rookie. Don't put him into skill matchups against Rookie.
Yeah. If they'd have done that, that match would have been good. Now, IG's still going to win. Like, they're going to 3-0. They're obviously going to 3-0, but you cannot play flashless. And the Impact Kennen, I like that. He needs to keep playing. That's his champ for this, because they're not going to ban it from him, it looks like.
No.
And he does know how to Kennen ult a team fight. That is one thing Impact has.
He's got great game sense. Impact always has had great game sense. Great game sense.
You could stay on that. That's their shot, I mean, if they try and get cute and do something stupid or try and take the Sonateric because IG accidentally leaves it open, they're gonna get whooped bad. Just this first game lineup, just stick with that if they can. I think they'll be competitive in all 3 games, but they'll still get swept.
Yeah, and that game's a great example of a precursor to this series because, like you said, Doublelift had a decent game, and there was a point where it was like, holy smokes, they pulled this back, and they get this big team fight win. They catch IG styling a little bit, mispositioning. Jackie Love, I mean, there was a couple of them where you're like, dude, what are you doing over there? Typical Jackie Love stuff, no big deal. Yeah, vein spotting, literal vein spotting. He had a tumble.
Not even he can help it.
Yeah, he had a tumble forward into a Nautilus. I mean, it was outstanding. Plus 100 points to Core JJ on that one for the vein spotting tournament, but they do that. They get a big win, then they run over, and they have the casters didn't even mention it. They were like, oh, it didn't work out for them. It's not that it didn't work out for them. They took 4 people and ran over to Baron. Now, you ran over to Baron, except Rookie's at full health, Balon's at full health. You're not getting that Baron when you're at half health. And then you go over there. Silas gets the fruit, then immediately gets hit by Baron a couple times, and he's back down to 15% health. I mean, it was one of the most terrible Baron calls I've seen in a long time. It was pure garbage, and that is what I see when I watch NA. Those are the type of things, and I said it in the review. It's frustrating to watch. It's frustrating to watch because you have so many people on that team that have been playing this game for a long time, and then to make another mistake like that, you're just going, why? I mean, this comes down to you can't make excuses for it anymore. This is either bad coaching, bad preparation, just players not taking it seriously enough, not thinking. or it's all of them together. And it was awful. And IG stopped it clearly, and then you gave away that big team fight. And then at the end of the game, it didn't lose them the game, but Core JJ flashes in to basically hook Balon and lose them the game. There's a big team fight coming. Like you said, Impact's playing pretty well in this game. He's relevant. He has items. He's down in farm, but like you said, he had Klepto. He has the items to win a team fight for sure, or help win a team fight. And he's not even near there to be in the fight. And they totally engage, and just that's the end of the game. It didn't lose them the game, but it ended the game. And those are the type of things I watch, and going through this tournament, where it's hard to even, going into the game, talk about what they could possibly do to even make this a contest, because that was the best situation they're probably going to get against someone like IG, and they completely fumbled it. I mean, they brought their gas can out there, they lit the place on fire, and just burned their victory to the ground.
Yeah, and then, so here's what the problem is that you can look through all of TL's games in this thing, and anytime Jarvan and Rek'Sai are banned, Smithy falls back to the Heck Room.
Which he's
but
not
he
good
hasn't
at.
played well on it
No,
yet.
he's not good at
he
it.
runs the Ghost Smite. It's just, they
He's not
need to
good at it.
figure that out. I know they only got like 24 hours, but they got to figure out a different plan for him. Now, in the game against SKT, the last game on Game 5, they did the same thing, and the bans worked out so that he took the Hecarim, but the Olaf was open. They ended up banning the Olaf afterwards. Just take the Olaf. I don't even know if he's got a kill. He got one kill on Hecarim in the whole damn tournament. Like, stop. I know his champion pool isn't legendarily deep, but if any time Jarvan and Rek'Sai are off the board, he has to go to Hecarim. They're not going to be good games. That's the problem. They'll get 3-0'd either way, but they could at least be some fun games to watch. But if IG's reading through this and watching what I've watched, they don't need the Jarvan. Hell, Ning can play whatever the hell he wants to. Just ban those two things and watch them panic, and they'll panic pick Hecarim, and then you just wipe the floor with them. Or
where's Sejuani?
Picking Lee Sin.
Where's Sejuani? You know what I mean? Where's that?
Sedge wasn't even banned in that game. That was pissing me off. I watched that game. Sedge isn't banned, and he falls. I mean, oh man, if they would have had Sejuani in that game, I mean, SKT didn't play that dominant. They just Clid absolutely
choked him out,
smashed Xmithy because he didn't get to play.
Clid's tournament
to
MVP.
Over 100 CS.
Clid's tournament MVP, or so far. I mean, for the group stage, he was tournament MVP. I mean, that dude was out of control. He's just doing things that just don't make sense. I mean, the guy's phenomenal. But that's one of the things too is Team Liquid. They're so used to playing a certain way in their region because they're more talented than the people they're playing. So it lulls them into this false sense of security of, oh, dude, this is how we play the game. It's gonna work when we go here. We're pretty good, and we're going to play this kind of slow, controlled SKT style game. And then you run into teams who can actually play, who are nasty, and they will take you and just run your lanes into the ground. And you can't do that nonsense. And they can't make any adjustments because the only way you're getting after IG is if you fight IG. I mean, you have to fight fire with them. I mean, it's the only chance you got. You're not going to out anything them because they don't care and they're not scared of. They'll take 2v3s, they'll take 3v4s, they'll take 3v5s. I mean, they're just so confident in their abilities, and they're in such a crazy situation right now with two of the best players in the world. They're impossible to ban out, so they're gonna get power picks at any point. Ning's been unconscious since Worlds. I mean, he's just been tearing it apart. I mean, he's just blacked out, just tearing the jungle to pieces. And then you have a bot lane with Balon, who's solid, played great, and Jackie Love, who's volatile as hell, but it doesn't matter on this team. That's the type of AD carry you want on this team. That's the type of AD carry you want. This just super mechanically gifted god, and he could be hit or miss in some of those games, but I think that's the type of AD carry you really want on a team like IG, and it's not just the fact that they're more talented. than Team Liquid. It's the fact that their style crushes Team Liquid style too, and it's setting you up for. I don't think IG's going to mess around in any of these games. This is knockout stage time. It's not comfort pick time. It's not mess around time. It's time to start making statements. And I think the one thing that helps Team Liquid is IG lost to SKT, so put them at 9-1. I think if IG was 10-0 right now, this series could turn into just a bloodbath because they would really want that 16-0. So
Right.
I think SKT might have taken some of that. A little bit of the oomph out of IG, but I don't see them messing around. I think they want to make a complete statement. And, I mean, Double Lift's talked about smashing Jackie Love and all that stuff, too. I mean, why poke the giant? I just don't – I don't know what your plan is there. It's not like you've ever backed any of it up internationally, ever. So, but, I mean, talk shit, get hit. It's just how it's going to go. It's just going to keep popping off, and – It's going to be an ugly series. Like you said, I hope they play well and make them somewhat fun and competitive games, but I don't have a lot of faith in that. And like you said, I mean, you can't. What are you going to do? Focus top? Are you going to focus top like everyone else and just the shy laugh while you lose every other lane because Ning doesn't even have to go up there? Yeah, the Shy's 0-5, but it doesn't really matter. He's never down in farm. He keeps so relevant in every game he's in. I mean, this game, he was on hit Nico. He's a mess up there. It's a bad matchup for Kennen, too. Impact did a really good job, but yeah, I don't know what Team Liquid can do to even make this series competitive.
Well, what you do is, if I'm coaching them in this circumstances, what you've noticed from IG in this whole tournament is they're not trying to play a 1-3-1 or a 1-4 split. They team fight regardless of the situation. They team fight just for the sake of team fighting. They team fight when you team fight because you have the audacity to kill one of their members. So
Right.
now they team fight.
Right.
So they are predictable, and predictability is one way to get beat. Now, I'm not saying they can be beat, but in the draft, you can't be drafting stuff like we're going to try and, do this 1-3-1, this cheeky thing. You have to draft all 5 members of that team strictly for one purpose: giant team fights. And that's what I would do if I was TL. From top, jungle, mid, bot, all of them. Every single one of them should be a completely focused team fight, giant AoE, alting, big bada boom team. Because even though you have that squad, Invictus isn't going to say, oh, their team fight's pretty strong, we're not going to dick with that.
They don't care.
Coming right in your grill anyway. They will play into that. So just go across the board. Just huge engage AoE damage with a hyper carry on the back end. Bring out a Jinx or something just for the hell of it. What's the difference? Just support with the big AoE. You could go Braum, I guess, if you want. I'd like to see something a little. They might give up the Galio, but just make sure everything is layered, hard CC AoE damage, and see if IG will play with you one game and mess with you, because you might get the better end of the draft if you focused on that aspect, because they are predictable. They're not going to look at it and say, all right, well, we'll just 1-3-1 them and run it down. We'll beat them. They're not going to do that. They're in a group. Going to try and beat you 5v5, and if they're going to do it, you should be able to at least have a better chance at defeating it instead of going in unprepared. That's the only hope I think TL has, is just draft for that fight every single game. Yeah,
I agree with that. I've wanted to see it this whole entire tournament, especially against IG. I've wanted to see Jinx against IG really bad, in the sense that I wanted someone to just go, you know what, we're going to pick, an Olaf or something like that, something that can sit near lanes and just focus bot lane, pick Jinx and Brand, and just go, you want team fight? Let's team fight. Let's do it. Let's team fight. We're going to build something stupid down here, and probably not going to work, probably going to lose. You know what I mean? But you're going to lose anyways. I mean, you're going to get stomped anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, who cares? In this game, Team Liquid, they like I said, they caught IG doing exactly what you're talking about twice, but they also just handed it right back. You know what I mean? Because when you're a lesser team, talent-wise, physically, and mentally. Those are the type of things you do. You make poor decisions in very, very tough situations, and I think it just, it goes to it too. I don't know how much shot calling Impact has. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know how much his voice is accountable in those situations, because a lot of these ones, you look at someone like Impact and even Core JJ in those situations and go, these are two world champions.
Mm-hmm.
Running after this Baron's a terrible idea. Neither of them said anything, I mean, neither of them said like, dude, don't do that. You're gonna get slaughtered by Rookie. Like, what are you doing? Um, but then Core JJ was the one to start the engagement, that ended the game mid lane. So I don't know. I think the pressure gets to them. Plus, they're not as good. And we've talked about this before. The infrastructure, the coaching, the analysts in NA are just so far inferior to the rest of the world. They're never prepared for these type of games. They're just
Mm-hmm.
not on the same level as these other teams. Even G2, someone who it seems like a lot of their picking and banning gets defaulted down to their players because they talk about it a lot. So um, I I'm excited for it just because TL gets a crack at the world champions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and even if they get 3-0'd, it's not going to make it any more. No one's going to be surprised, so it's not embarrassing or anything like
Yeah.
that. If they take a game or two off of them, I mean that's huge. Um, but I just, like I said, a zero negative percent chance to win that series.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have one series that I think a lot of people would call a coin flip at this point. I think it's a huge series, and I can't wait to see it. And that's SKG2. G2 beat them twice. The first game very handily. The second game was a little bit closer, but it was still pretty methodical from G2's perspective. It just seemed like they had a beat on SKT. And again, I don't want to make excuses for SKT's play in those two games, but we have seen this kind of style from SKT before where they don't look like world beaters in the group stages, the round robins. They're just kind of like maybe even sometimes first games in a game best of five. But it always seems like they start dialing it in. They get going. Their last game was against IG. It was a pretty sound victory over IG across the board. And then they hit that stride right when they get into these best of fives. Faker turns into Faker. Um, and I just, personally, I feel like that last game and the way G2 played the last couple days, they have to look at that and go, we can probably try what we did the first two games and see how it works out.
Mm-hmm.
Just in case that SKD didn't make any adjustments for us and maybe we get a win out of it. But I think their preparation is going to have to change quite a bit because SKT looks like the SKT we expected to see day one when they played G2.
Yeah, and I don't know what SKT was doing. They get a lot of credit for, their meta-analysis and
Mm-hmm.
how prepared they are, but in their run back against G2, just
Mm-hmm.
bringing that up and looking at it, Klid had his pick of the litter of junglers. There was only one jungler banned throughout
Right.
all of pick bans, and it was
Right.
Rek'Sai.
Mm-hmm.
So he could have picked whatever he wanted to, and he goes with the Elise. I like Elise, but I mean, that was an odd choice. It's just showing his hand there. That's your top pick with everything available. You go there, okay. Yankos got on the J4. We talked about not letting that through to anybody. Even lower competition, letting that through is risky. G2, on the other hand, lets the Jace through and lets Khan have it. And Khan
Mm-hmm.
feeds beyond feeding. I mean, 7 deaths to
On
a
a
top
Jace.
Pike.
Mm-hmm.
Wonders Pike just destroyed the whole game. He was 11-4.
That was a
Like,
dope
how does
pick.
that happen to an SKT team? But that's the thing. They have Teddy on Misfortune, okay, and then Faker plays Azir, and you can't really judge Faker so much, but I mean, Azir right now is ass tier mid, even in the hands of Faker. Like, Midbeast just talked about it on his video.
Mm-hmm.
He's got him ranked low, and he's like, he could be higher, I guess. It's Faker's default pick when he's in a matchup he doesn't prefer. He just kind of goes with Azir, but that's Faker, and he went even, like 3-3-3.
Right.
If a Faker can only go 3-3-3 on Azir, that champion is trash can. So
Mm-hmm.
the Elise, the Azir, and the MF in that game, like, you're playing G2 like a team that stomped you already. Like, you need to bring the wood here, and that's what you offer.
Yeah.
That was just strange to me.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I expect the opening game of their series to go a lot like this, pick ban wise. I don't think Wonder will bring the Pike top back out, but I do see them banning Rise throughout the series. Faker has looked a lot different on Rise than he has on other champions.
Don't let him have Rise.
Yeah, not to say he's like digressing or anything. I'm not going that far, but
Mm-hmm.
his Rise is the best in the world, the best of all time. He is Rise personified, and his other mids just in this tournament haven't looked quite as dominant.
I agree.
It's not the crazy Faker outplay, but you and I have talked about Teddy, you more specifically, how talented he is. In 2 of their losses that we've watched, he's been on MF and he's been on Sona.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to handcuff Teddy and send him to NA. I mean, we can handcuff him.
We'll handcuff him.
You know, we'll handcuff the hell out of him.
Yeah, we'll
Don't
fuck his
do it
career
on
up.
the
Don't
game.
worry
No
about it.
shit.
We'll mess his whole
Put him
entire
on
career up.
Sona and MF. Are you kidding me? Get him on an 80 carry for Christ's sake.
Yeah, we'll destroy his career. Just send him here for 2 months. He doesn't even have to stay here a whole entire split. You know?
Spring's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, spring's fine.
half
Just
a
come over spring,
You don't
send him
need
right back
anything
to you.
Summer.
There you go.
So I just don't know. That was such a weird draft. You know how I like to focus on the support picks and everything, and the Braum especially. You know he's gonna get through, but then they pick the MF with him. Like there's few 80 carries in this game that take less advantage of the Braum passive than MF.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's the same thing as playing him with Jhin. I've played plenty of Jhin Braum games. It's fun. Like it's a decent combo, but you don't get no stuns off with Jhin because attacking 4 times in that period of time. And the same thing with MF. She's not doing that. She's not
yeah, the MF pick was really weird. The Sona. Well, the one that really got me, and it's something you brought up. You know, even if they are testing things and kind of like they're trying to work their way through this. I don't know why you would mess with Teddy that much. I mean, they did show where Teddy played Callista a few times. Hasn't died in the tournament on Callista yet. I mean, they're just a joke. His Callista's out of control. It looks pretty good on Lucian, but yeah, the Sona game was something I looked at and went, even if you're trying something out right now, you didn't ban Jackie Loves Draven. That's literally the best pro Draven ever, and it's not even close. I mean, the dude on Draven is another level of insanity. I mean, he's a crazy 80 carry anyways, but he's hyper aggressive. He just loves to be in there fighting, and then you give him Draven, who was his 1-trick champ, or his 2-trick, I guess. He played a lot of Lucian back then too. But I mean, this guy's Draven is just otherworldly in pro play, and that's what you allow through. Like, you should be, if you're playing Sonateric, you should be banning Draven anyways. Even if it's not the best Draven you've ever seen, just a decent Draven on the other team, and they give it to, undoubtedly the best professional Draven in the world. And we all saw what happened. It was a 16-minute. It was the fastest international game of all time. It was a joke. I mean, Jackie Love just running people down. The whole team was, but I mean, at bot lane, that's where I kind of went, even in the sense that you're trying something out, you're not going to let Draven through anyways. Did you just want to see Jackie Love's Draven up close? Is that what you were trying to bait out because you needed to see it in the game? I mean, you just go watch plenty of VOD. You can go watch you can just go watch the LPL finals. I mean, he picked it in that last game, and it was the same situation. It was an absolute stomp. So I don't know what you would have learned out of that situation. You didn't even get to test the Sonateric, and the game is 16 minutes long. So, I agree with you. It seems like they were trying to do kind of that standard SKT thing. We're going to test some things out. We're going to work on, is Azir really that bad? Can Faker pull it out? Well, I mean, no, it is that bad, I guess, in this situation. And Faker, maybe wasn't playing it that great. But there was a bunch of situations. There was, that game, one of the games when Faker was on Azir, Mata made an inexplicable play around Baron. Faker went in, ended up getting a kill. Everyone was really low health, but Mata just left the fight to go protect Teddy on MF, and you're going, why even waste your time? Just stand in front of Faker. If you stand there and he gets a triple kill, it stops Baron, but he didn't, and they were very odd mistakes for a team like SKT to make, but maybe they're not that odd. This isn't SKT of old. They're obviously different now. This is a younger team. The play style is changing. changed their play style quite a bit. And Teddy is a much, much different AD carry than Bang is. Arguably a much better AD carry than Bang is, at least technically, on the technical side of things. Bang has had some amazing seasons for SKT, obviously. But Teddy's done it with bad teams on Jin Air. Teddy has been able to carry games. So it was interesting. And maybe at the end of the day, when we get into this, this best of 5 and we start seeing it, we're like, why would you ever doubt him? But there's a reason to right now. I think there's a reason to kind of go, what's going on? Khan didn't have the best spring split either. That's another thing I think that was kind of missed coming into this. Just because of the finals, Khan looked okay in there, but one of the games he got popped off on pretty hard, and Khan has that ability to be non-existent in the game, or even feed hard, because he can get a little over aggressive, and Faker has spent a lot of time during the spring split going up there to protect him because Khan has just he did it in that Jace game. He was just overextended multiple times for no reason when they had a lead, and you're just that's kind of just how Khan plays, but it's really detrimental to the game meta right now and how the game is actually being won and played.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing you bring up about Draven, interesting, is he was only banned 4 times throughout this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
For all so it's gonna be there. It's just I find it interesting to see what IG does with that. Like, I wonder what their internal team discussion is about Draven, because that's essentially saying that it's open 3 out of 4 games that they play.
Right.
But they don't play it every time. He doesn't really even play it that often.
I don't think you can play it every time, even though it's Jackie Love.
That's what's strange. Like, it's always open, but they only play it in specific situations.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's.
I mean, you know how much I like Jackie Love. So I mean, I'm definitely a little biased when it comes to that. I was really disappointed he didn't pick Draven at Worlds. Obviously, he was too, because he really wanted that skin for it. But it's banned a lot against him, but it's started to backslide a little bit in that sense, where people have been like, well, they're not really picking it even when it's not getting banned, so maybe we can let it through. Yeah. I think IG only picks it when they're planning to go. Like, it's kind of more of a predetermined thing. Like, okay, hey, if Draven doesn't get banned this game, we're probably going to pick it, because I think in certain situations with Draven, I don't necessarily think it matters what his team comp is. I think it only matters what his support is and what 80 or what support he's going against. I don't think the 80 carry matters that much as far as IG is concerned. I think they care about what support they're going into, because that's who kind of is going to dictate the lane against Draven in those situations. If you don't have a support that can kind of mess Draven's system up of catching axes and moving in and out and, kind of his poke pattern, you're going to have a bad time. Because he's going to come back to lane with a BF sword, and then you're going to have a really bad time, and then it's just going to get worse from there. But yeah, I think if it's left open every game, they'll still probably only pick it once. I don't think that's something fair. They probably feel real confident picking into Draven. But I will say this: if in the first round of bans, if SKT and IG end up playing in the final, for instance. I think SKT has to ban it, and the reason being is if you don't ban it, then IG doesn't have to ban Kalista, because that's not. I would take that matchup if I'm IG, Draven into Kalista. I would take it every single time. Because of how good Jackie Love is at Kalista, no matter how good Teddy is at Kalista, or how good Jackie Love is at Draven. So that'll be an interesting situation if SKT can get through that. But I think right now for G2 against SKT, you have to ban Kalista. I don't think you can give Teddy Kalista. I think that's a really, really dangerous proposition for you. So that's taking away one of their bans. Ryze should probably take away another one. That's going to put a huge hindrance on G2's plans. You're taking up 2 ban slots right away. Maybe you don't have to ban Kalista Ryze right away, because that might be a second rotation pick depending on what side they are. So you might be able to get it a little bit later. But I don't know. I just don't feel like there's anything on SKT's side that they need to specifically ban for G2, if that makes any sense. Like they can just ban the Vlad and the stuff
Mhm.
like that, and they don't really have to worry about it. I think SKT has an advantage in the pick ban phase in that situation. Um, but Wonder's been really really good. He's a really good player, and I think that's going to be a weak spot for SKT. I think Wonder into Khan is going to be something they're going to have to take a long, hard look at, putting Khan into situations that he doesn't get stomped by Wonder.
Yeah, Wonder's definitely played better than Khan in this tournament. That's not up for debate. He's
Mm-hmm.
played a lot better. Khan has not looked great. So
No.
I think you'll see G2 focus around that top lane and try and make that their win condition is just how far ahead Wonder can get against Khan and how he can affect the rest of the map. So I think the Rise will be banned whenever they're on blue side and first picked when they're on red, right? Or vice versa,
Right.
whichever it is. That I think you pick it instead when you have first pick instead of using up a ban on it, because they can both play it really well. Like not to Faker's level, but good enough that
Right. Yeah.
it's
Wonder plays it really well.
yep, it's more useful to you to save a ban for something else and just pick the Rise
Mm-hmm.
first than it is to ban it because you're afraid of Faker and miss a different ban. In my opinion, anyway, I think that's what I would do. I would just always first pick, and that's what teams have been doing. If you look through it, I mean, Rise is in about every game. He's the, I don't know, he's the Braum of the mid top lane. You know,
Right.
that no one bans him, but they all let him through, and then he wins, and it's kind of that whole deal. But I would expect to see G2 on Rise a lot. Would be a prediction for that game anyway.
Yeah, and I can see SKT actually letting them have that. It's going to be
Right.
interesting because red side has seemed to be something teams want more actually right now than blue side because they want that counter pick really bad. Um, you've talked about it pretty much this whole entire year, this whole entire spring split into the playoffs, into MSI, that this game really really revolves around top lane then mid lane. The jungler is obviously very important to that situation, but those two lanes have been kind of the key to everyone's success. Who has the best top laner? Who has the best mid laner type stuff? Um, but it seemed to me if your top laner is a lot better than the other top laner, it almost isn't that big of a deal how good your mid is. Um,
Yeah.
because
Oh
it
yeah.
just the champs that they're getting away with in the top lane, it's not a tank meta. These are champs when they come out of that island, they have these crazy level leads on the rest of the game. They're hitting 16 really fast, and on some champs that's just devastating. Like Silas, that's allowing him to just multiple times in team fights, crazy stuff like that. And they're getting to that level 16 power spike much faster than everybody else. And it's been interesting because I think this is going to flow. If G2 wants to win, they're going to have to play through Wonder in these situations for the most part. Not that Perks has played bad, their bot lane has played bad or anything, but I would take SKT's bot lane over them. Faker's a better mid than Caps. I think Yankos and Klid. I think there's some things that Yankos is very good at. And obviously, Klid's
Hmm.
super talented mechanically, and he makes a lot of great plays. But Yankos is really, really good at the game. He has great court awareness, if for
Hmm.
lack of a better term. Um, but that's where they're going to play, and that's what I want to bring up. Something I've talked about in a couple of the reviews is how you beat G2 is more and more becoming very clear that you just attack Caps. He seems to tilt pretty easily. He's not tilting off the face of the earth, but man, when he gets down early, he just starts doing things that are just you don't know what's going on. You're like, why are you there? Getting 1v1 by a Smithy up top, there's no reason to be there. The Vlad game where he went bot and just died bot trying to dive a tower. Um, he seems to have a lot of trouble when he gets down early, and I don't know if that's a pride thing or a confidence thing or a panic type thing, but he just seems mentally that you can get after Caps, and if you play through that mid, you can put G2 really far behind because it forces Yankos to come there and stop the snowball and the tilt.
Yeah, it really puts an emphasis on the jungle picks
Hmm.
because of that. Because the early clear, early effect junglers, if they can, get to caps right away, if that first rotation gank is mid and get his flash, like that is a huge. I don't know why it is. It should be the same for about everybody, but it just seems to be more so that way
Right.
for Caps. If he gets ganked early and has to blow a summoner because of it, that game starts to just kind of fall apart
I
because
agree.
he doesn't seem to lane safely, and maybe that is a confidence thing, or just it could be a lack of awareness or whatever you want to call it, but we've seen it in a lot of games, like games they shouldn't be losing. He's up there pushing lane. He's in places he shouldn't be when you don't have sums. It's almost like you're forgetting you don't have your summoner spells. And so getting that out of there real quick has been a problem for him. He struggled against Lee Sin picks in the jungle on
Hmm.
opposing teams because of his early effect, his land the Q, get in, do a bunch of damage. You got to get out of there, like CC, or in the game against TL, just refusing to flash
Yeah, it was
on
just terrible.
Corki twice at
Hmm.
least. I mean, you could pick out a lot of the problems when you die 7 times, but there
The
was at
first two
least
deaths, though, is
two
what
where
lost in the game. You
yeah,
know.
and his flash was up. He
Hmm.
just didn't want to. He just didn't want to admit that Jensen got his flash, and so he
Right.
didn't flash the chain. Gets rooted. No, there's a Smithy that you let play Jarvan, and bop. You
Who he
know,
should have known was there. I mean,
well, he should have known that, yeah. But you also can look at every game McSmithy's played in this whole tournament, and when he's 4-0 and 15, you've done something terribly wrong.
terribly wrong.
He has not been playing
Right.
at a 4-0 and 15 level. He had 19 out of 20 kill participation in that game. 19 out of 20 on out of the jungle on Jarvan. That's just unbelievable.
And solo
8
killed
0 AD
Caps
carry.
top.
Oh yeah, he's just that's the kind of thing. He's just you make the right point there. You beat them by beating Caps.
Hmm.
Wonder can take it.
Yep.
Perks can. I mean, bot lanes at this point in the meta, they don't care.
Yeah,
They're
they're
not
fine.
even relevant until 250 farm.
Yeah,
They don't
they're
have
fine
time for
anyways.
that.
Perks
But
and Perks and Mickey
mid
are
lane
fine.
for sure.
Yeah.
They just
It's. I mean,
that's how you get them.
it's something I keep bringing up, and I feel like I'm on it all the time. But anytime he gets down early, I mean, that game against PVB when he was against Oriana, he got down early. He's 2-7 in that game, but at the end of the game, he's down almost 80 farm.
Oh yeah.
Almost
Yeah.
80 farm. I mean, Wonder was 0-5. He was down 1 farm. Perks was 1-3. He was down 30 farm. Down 80 farm. That is so much gold. And we've talked about it before. I bring it up all the time. There's these games when he gets behind, he doesn't just get behind in a couple kills. He gets behind in everything. He's not farming well. He's not in the lanes he's supposed to be in. He face checks bushes. It's almost like a frustration thing. Like he's frustrated and he doesn't, he has to be part of the winning situation. He can't just let his team carry him. He always has to be part of it. And going into this series, I think SKT is a type of team that realizes stuff like that, sees it, knows how to abuse it, and it's going to put them in a bad situation. Like it did in that Team Liquid game at the end. At the end there, they made some cocky picks. Aurelia's not great right now. I don't, but Corki. I mean, I was making the point on the VOD review while it was showing Corky stats from the tournament, and he had been picked 3 times and he had 3 wins. He had a 100% win rate. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it sounded really stupid as I was saying it, but looking at it in that situation, that's not the type of situation where Corky's going to shine. But also, too, caps on Corky was the problem, was what I was talking about. Is that's the type of champion. He gets down a kill or 2 kills in this situation, gets pushed out of lane a little bit. I mean, he's not going to hit his power spikes on time. He can't team fight real well. Caps kept up in farm just fine in that game, but yeah, it was an odd situation for sure. And I think that's how you beat G2. And I think it's become, I mean, if we're noticing it, I think it's become very clear to the rest of the teams left in this tournament that if you want to beat G2, just pound them through mid, get that tower down, put Caps in a side lane, and just try to tilt them, because I think it's possible, and I think it's the way to go against them.
Yeah. it for sure is. And we got to talk about G2's advantages that they will have in this. Not all SKT advantages. We
Right.
in both of their matchups, SKT was forced to ban the Sonateric. Half of it. They don't have experience against it, so
Right.
they have to ban it. So they have a forced ban right
Got to
away,
ban Tarek.
which
Yeah, you got to ban Tarek.
watching their games have been probably the most entertaining because they have these certain bans that kind of have to be
Mm-hmm.
have to be
Yeah, it's
done.
interesting.
And so you're gonna have to give them one ban on the let's call it the Tarek. They usually go with the Tarek,
Mm-hmm.
and that really opens up a lot of options because you want to get rid of the Jace, you want to get rid of the Akali, you want to get rid of the Jarv. Well, you get two. You get to pick two, and that's a bit of a problem, and it's the problem they ran into with G2 both times. It's
Right.
probably, if you really dig down to the nuts and bolts of it, it's the reason they probably lost because G2's sitting here banning just priority picks. They get to ban away the Rise from Faker, they get to ban away the Akali, and they get to ban away the Silas. Boom, boom, boom.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some nice power bans.
Those are all Faker bans.
Yeah, SKT has to start out with Terror, useless ban, but
Mm-hmm.
it has to be banned against G2 because they just don't know what to do with it. And I wouldn't have banned the Aurelia if I were them, but I mean G2 can play Aurelia, but I would have probably let that through. But it's just the start of it like that. You just G2 gets to start on the front foot in the pick ban because of that Terror pick, and that'll be their avenue to win. If on the flip side, whereas SKT needs to go through just hammering Caps and keeping him, out of it. They have to protect Khan, and they have to really make use. They have to make use of these two bans here, other than the Terror.
Well, I'm surprised they keep banning Tarek because, look, Teddy's not on Jackie Love's level with Draven, obviously, but Teddy has played Draven, and we've seen him on a pro stage playing Draven, and it's pretty good. I mean, he's pretty good at that champion. Draven's really good into Sonateric, especially if you put something ridiculous with him like Braum or Tom or even an Alistair, something like that. Or Nautilus. Yeah, Nautilus. Exactly. But, the other one is arguably one of Teddy's best champions, if not, he's not the best player at it I've ever seen, is Caitlyn. There'll always be that argument that Forgiven is, the best Caitlyn of all time, and there's definitely an argument for that. Forgiven's pretty amazing on her, but I watched Teddy on Caitlyn on Jin Air do some things that now Caitlyn was really powerful at the time. I get it, but Teddy made that champion look like 3 different champions. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And Caitlyn into Sonateric is great. That's just a free lane for her. She has no worries against any of them. They can't try and come and stun her. If they do, they're going to get the trap hook, trap Q nonsense. I mean, you're taking multiple headshots, you're taking way too much damage. You can try and heal that up if you want to, but it's really, really tough for Tarek early because he has to melee those minions while Sona doesn't CS. And we all know how that works against Caitlyn if you're a melee champion. It's a nightmare. And I'm really surprised. I understand being scared of it because Perks and Mickey are really good at that. And I'm with you. I don't want to give Perks any type of mage type champion down there. I don't want to give him Vlad down there, that crazy stuff. I'm sure SKT's pretty happy that meta's not really in meta right now.
Right.
With the Cassiopeias and Yasuo's and stuff like that.
Yeah,
because
that was nasty.
Perks is nasty on that stuff. So, but I'm really surprised Caitlyn hasn't been, I wouldn't call her a priority pick, but she's definitely a counter or a type of counter to that situation, and maybe that opens up a ban for them. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't think they're going to go that route. I think they're just going to ban Tarek out and then have to decide on, those 3 or 4 priority picks that they're going to have to get rid of, and it's going to put them at a disadvantage in the pick ban stage. Because like you said, I don't think G2 minds getting rid of Ryze, Akali. I'm not saying Caps isn't good on Akali, but he's not a great Ryze player. Wonder's pretty good at it. But you just take those 2 things away from Faker and then make him dig deeper into that pool. But that can also be scary too, because there's some stuff in that Faker pool that he might not have pulled out yet that you might not want to see. But I think G2 has a lot of advantages in this game because top lane's so important, and Wonder is clearly playing better than Con right now. I think Yankos can play on an even field with Klid. Klid's going to out mechanical a lot of people, but Yankos' game sense is phenomenal. Perks and Mickey will be fine. They've proven that they're fine down there. It's going to come down to Caps. And what advantages can they get for Caps into Faker and Klid, essentially, because Klid's going to be hanging around that mid lane a lot.
Yeah, you'll see Caps on as many LeBlanc games as he can get his hands. It was the champion throughout groups here that
It's a good decision.
he excelled on.
Mm-hmm.
He had strong games. She has a lot of escapability for when he dicks up. He still isn't gonna die if he blows flash. It gives him a lot more comfort, and a lot of good games that Caps has had have come through on LeBlanc. So I'd see them prioritizing that, and that's not a ban. SKT's not gonna come in banning LeBlanc.
No.
Not that. It's not that level of champion that's gonna happen. I would expect to see SKT focus jungle bans. I think they'll still start with a Taric ban. So
Mm-hmm.
I think in game one, and maybe I'll write this down because I think I might be right, but I think SKT's first 3 bans in game one will be Taric, Jarvan, Rek'Sai. That'll be their bans on their side. And G2 will probably ban the Ryze and the Sylas. I don't know if they'll ban the Akali. It depends on which side they're on, of course, because they could always first pick Akali.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to like playing that, but you run
They're
the
pretty
risk
good at
of
it, yeah.
leaving Teddy's Ezreal open. They left it open in their last game, and they didn't pick it first rotation, and then they banned it second rotation. But these two teams don't seem to want to ban the Jace. They kind of let it go through. So
I don't
you'll
think
see.
anyone on either team's a remarkable Jace or anything like that.
No, and for how strong he is, it seems odd. But I guess it just doesn't fit in, Khan and Wonder's wheelhouse to the way they really like to flex in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's 4 people in these games that could probably play Jace, but I agree with you. I don't think it's a priority pick for either team. Not saying neither of them would pick it. I mean, we've seen Khan on it, but I think from SKT's view, I think it's a little dangerous to put Khan on something like that. He just seems to not understand the escapability or how far up in the lane he can be, how hard he can press that turret, where the jungler is. That's been Khan's problem all year. Is it just seems like he either doesn't care where the jungler is, or doesn't care where the opposing team's jungler is. Like he just sometimes I've seen it a couple times during the spring split where an opposing jungler just walked over a ward. Khan's just mini map off. I mean, I don't care right now. So he did it a couple times in play-ins where he had leads and then he just gave them away by just being way too far up in the lane and not knowing where the opposing jungler is. And I think this could be a huge problem for SKT in this series. Huge problem for them in this series. I think G2 can and will try to oppress him top lane and get Wonder ahead and maybe tell Caps like, hey dude, you got to clean it up. You know what I mean? Like you're going to take the pressure here.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not. There's just no way around it. I know you're going up against probably the greatest player of all time. I mean, not probably, the greatest player of all time, and a really good jungler, but you're going to have to either play safer and lose some farm and go down a little bit and deal with it, or we're going to be in too much trouble. But yeah, I don't know what, unless there's some picks that, both teams probably got some picks that we're not even thinking of right now.
Yeah.
They might pull out. But I think early game vision control, objective control is going to be super important in these games for SKT, because that's the type of game they're going to play, and they've shown that they have a little bit of trouble when teams are hyper aggressive against them and don't stop. And G2 is one of those type of teams that can get hyper aggressive and just not stop. They just won't stop. They will keep diving you. They'll keep taking things, and they're not going to let you just ward line and farm up.
Do you think the avenue for G2 to win is to play more standardized League of Legends, or do you want to see them keep going crazy and trying to catch SKT on the back foot? Which strategy for G2 do you think gets them the series win, not to take a game, to win the series.
Standard.
Which strategy?
Standard. And the reason why I say that is I know every year every team is different, slightly different. They adjust, they adapt, they change a little bit. But SKT doesn't change a lot. And one thing SKT has always been good at is when a lot of times they're ready for your nonsense. And even if they just see it in there, and maybe they've never played against it or they don't know, but they have a good feel of, oh, okay, that's what we're doing. All right, then this is what we're going to do. And the reason why I bring it up is we saw Griffin try and do it, right? Papa Smithy and them were talking about it on the cast that night. It's not that SKT didn't know they might try something like that. They had seen it in solo queue. They had played it before, the Taliyah Pantheon bot lane type stuff. But SKT, it was comical how ineffective it was. So I think G2 is talented enough to just say, this is what we're good at. And look, some of the standard stuff I might call standard for them might be a little bit crazy for other teams, but I think it's standard for G2 at this point. They've played this way the whole entire season. It's just kind of their, it's their MO. It's not crazy or out of control for them. It's how they play the game. Hyper, I wouldn't call it hyper aggressive. It's not IG levels of aggression, but it's aggressive. It's the we're never on the back foot type gameplay. Even if we're behind, we're still going to fight you. We're gonna outskill you in these team fights. And G2 is really good at something that doesn't get brought up a lot with them. Is they're really, really good at doing this might be a bad idea, but we're all gonna do this bad idea together. And I think that's really big in League of Legends when everybody on the team is like, okay, that's what we're doing. If someone says we're fighting, they fight. Even if they don't think it's great, they're never wish-washy. They're never kind of, are we going to go in? Are we going to do this? And then kind of get caught out, and then the team fight starts to go bad, and then they run away. It's, okay, Yankos went in, we're going in. You know what I mean? Like, this might not be the best decision to make in this situation, but they're all in on those decisions. And I think it allows them sometimes when they shouldn't be winning a team fight or winning a skirmish or taking this objective to do that because the whole entire team is on the same page all the time. And I think it's a phenomenal talent that G2 has. And I think they're as good at it as anybody in the world, is just all inning on what they're going to do. So I think if they just play their game, which would be their standard League of Legends, and not try to get crazy with picks no one's ever seen and stuff like that, because you're not going to catch SKT tiptoeing through the tulips like that. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to surprise them. It's just not. It's never really happened to them, especially in best of fives. And we've seen tons of teams try to do it, and watched them all get clapped for trying. So, I think their standard League of Legends is how they're going to win this, and I think they have a good chance at winning it. They're a good team, and they play a style that I think SKT has trouble with, and that is that early aggression and then consistent aggression that doesn't let you just farm and control the map with wards.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. So, picks for that one. What do you got?
I mean, I got SKT winning it, so I'm sticking with it. I picked him in the pre-show. There's been some surprising things, but they still finished 7-3 in the round robin. They beat IG at the end. I wouldn't say that's indicative that they're better than IG by any stretch of the imagination. But SKT is a best of 5 team. They always have been, and they're so good in best of 5s. They're just really tough to beat them. And this isn't that year where it's just Faker by himself dragging a dead corpse to the finals, to lose. I mean, this is a good team, and I think they're ready. And I think they're going to beat G2 3-1. And I think they beat IG 3-2 in an epic Game 5. Maybe that's hope, but I want that rookie Faker Game 5. I want it really, really bad. So, yeah, I got SKT winning it. IG is going to beat TL. And I think this is already, no matter what happens in these games, this was probably one of the best MSI I've watched. And I think I've seen them all, or close to all of them. So, it's just been, it was, 3-4 super teams in here, and G2's just been a joy to watch.
Yeah, they're fun to watch.
They really are.
It's been really good games. The VOD reviews and everything have all been really good. It's fun to watch people's opinion, and the games have been super entertaining. I still don't think the meta itself is super entertaining right now, not compared to last year's Worlds, but it's not terrible.
No, it's not a tank
It's
meta, so I'm okay with it.
yeah. There's craziness to be had, and that leads to fun League of Legends to watch anyway.
Hmm.
So, yep. No, I think I'm just gonna go with matchups. I think the matchups in this tournament are so important, and we've seen it already in groups. We've seen teams that just can't beat other teams, even when they play well and play bad, vice versa. They
Hmm.
just can't beat them. I think G2 is just a nightmare matchup for SKT. I got G2 winning that one in 5, and then on the flip side, G2's bullshit doesn't work against IG. And I think they sweep
Yeah,
them in the final.
yeah.
And I
Rock
think
paper
that's how
scissors. You know.
yeah, I think that's how it's gonna go, and that's kind of a boring way to end it. But you don't always get the fairy tale. So
No.
I really would hate to see it, but I think the G2 SKT 5 game series is gonna be the best 5 games of this entire tournament, and then it'll be the inevitable letdown. I don't see G2 taking one off IG, so I'll take IG sweeping G2 in the finals 3-0 and making it look pretty easy while they do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to argue with that. I think I'm more picking SAT because I'm trying to stick with my pick from the pre-show,
Mm-hmm.
and I just I like that I like that kind of dynasty feel of SKT in the sense
Yeah.
that esports are so volatile in the sense a lot of players come and go. They retire pretty young compared to traditional sports. I mean, very young compared to traditional sports. When they're retiring, most people in traditional sports are just learning how to play at a professional level. So it's been very interesting, especially to see someone like Faker play this long. He's had essentially the same coaching staff there. So that's been interesting to see. This is kind of the rebound year. I think it's a statement to. I don't want to take anything away from Teddy and Clid's skill, or
Right.
Khan or Mata. Right? I don't want to take anything away from them because they're great players. But I think this is bigger than we kind of look at it like that because I think it comes down to can you can you rebuild around Faker? Is this that type of team? The meta has changed so much that you can't win games by yourself for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
This game is very, very different than it was, 3, 4, 5 years ago. But SKT, to watch them just as an organization, they've had their off years, they've had their on years, obviously, but to be able to
Mm-hmm.
adjust to not just the meta changing, but the entire game changing, almost a completely different game than it was 5 years ago, and still stay pretty consistent, I think has been phenomenal. And I felt like that IG game was kind of like a preview window to, okay, this team is here. This is that SKT. This is that SKT when you get in it, even though you are IG, you look at it and
Mm-hmm.
go, shit, we got to play actual SKT now. You know, so I think it's really interesting, and the reason why I want to see it is I think it's a big thing for Rookie too. Rookie took out Faker in the LCK before he went to China in a best of 5, and Rookie's always kind of been, I wouldn't call him the Faker killer, stuff like that. I don't think Rookie would even say that stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
Rookie seems to get on another level when he's playing against Faker, and it's really, really fun to watch because Rookie's already been on another level for a long time, but when he gets up against Faker, it just seems like those two really, really, really want to play each other, and it's phenomenal. It's watching the two titans of the game go at it. Arguably, if Rookie keeps this going for a couple more years, or even just another year, and maybe look at it, the two best mid laners of all time, and we're getting to watch them go toe to toe. You don't realize it when you're in it, but maybe when we
Mm-hmm.
look back at it in a couple of years, go, man, we got to see Rookie and Faker go at it for a year and a half, 2 years at MSI Worlds, and stuff like that. So I'm really hoping SKT gets through this. As much as I've enjoyed watching G2, that type of, I wouldn't even call it hype, just wanting to see the two titans of the game go at it.
Yeah, and I think we will see that even if we don't see it here.
Hmm.
I would say we'll see it at Worlds. I think this SKT team is going to be like right on the heels of IG when it comes to Worlds. I just don't think they're quite there yet,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they'll lose out to the more. I don't know. I just G2 seems a little more organized to me than SKT, and they're more risky. If there's one thing
Definitely
those
more risky.
announcers talk to
Mm-hmm.
color guys that I don't agree with very often, but the one thing I do agree with is that G2 is willing to take the 50-50 and see how it plays
Yeah,
out.
they are.
They're always willing to do it, and SKT refuses. If they don't like the odds, if the odds aren't in their favor, they're
Right.
not taking. They're not even.
Right. It's a great point.
And sometimes those coin flips go your way, and right now G2 is taking those and it's going their way. I think by the time Worlds comes around with some more patches and some meta shifts, you'll see SKT at a whole nother level. Maybe even at a whole nother level than IG, which is tough to say because of the talent IG has, but I think they're just close. They got to get their top lane on board with everyone else and how they want to play the game, but
Well, I think
maybe
there's
they
a good
do that
chance
here.
Khan isn't the starting top laner by the time they get to Worlds. So
I was gonna say that too, and I think that's I don't know. That's kind of a bold prediction, and Khan could start at the top lane of probably every organization in the world minus
mm-hmm.
one or two. So I don't know. We'll see. They might switch. They might not. I think if they want to win Worlds, they'll need to switch because even
Yeah.
if he is playing well in the summer split, you have to figure out how well he's going to play against the Shy. And if he can't play against the Shy, then you're
Well,
going to find
he didn't
somebody.
play well in the spring split, and he didn't
Yeah.
play that well in the playoffs. It's just that Clid and Teddy were just it didn't matter. I mean, Teddy wasn't losing the playoffs. Didn't matter what he did top.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
he was hard inting a couple of those games. They were joking around about it on stage when they were accepting their trophy. And I think it's really funny too because they asked Faker about you gonna win an MSI and all that stuff, and the first thing he says is even if we don't win MSI, I'm winning Worlds. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I think SKT sees that right now too. Like if they do win this tournament, I think they're a little bit ahead of where they think they actually are going to be right now. It took them a long time in the spring split to really, really get going. And even so, their last series against Griffin, it was a maybe the best 3-game series of all time. It was unbelievable, but they lost that series. Griffin beat them, and then they get to the in the actual playoffs, and playoff Griffin came out. But still, that's I think SKT. I agree with you. I think SKT isn't in their final stages of this rebuild and getting everyone on the same page. There's still a lot of stuff they're working out. But you bring up, I think, the most important part of this tournament is the best team in the world plays the same style as G2. They both play the same exact style. This very risky 50-50, even 40-60. They're taking it. They're like, well, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, we're really not that far behind. So I'm not too worried about it, So, and when the best team in the world is playing like that, they're more talented. But G2 has embraced this because that's their type of players too. Wonders. He's not scared of the 2v1. Caps isn't definitely not, I talk about Caps a lot having a tilt problem occasionally, but I don't want to take anything away from his actual skill because his actual skill is pretty unbelievable. I mean, that kid can do some things, and sometimes he does stuff, and you're just like, wow, that's amazing. Like, he's unbelievable. He's an unbelievably talented player. And I don't think G2's in their final form, really, in the sense that
No.
I think Caps is going to get better and better and better because he's in a good organization that's really good. He's got good players around him, so when he does have bad games, they still win sometimes. But he has one of the better mid laners that EU's produced also as his AD carry right now. That's huge to have that voice in your ear, and Perk seems like the type of guy who's a great team leader.
Yeah.
He takes a lot of interviews. He does a lot of the talking for the team. He jokes around. He's good at it. But he seems like a great leader in the clubhouse, so to speak, and I think that's going to be really good for Caps. And I think G2 is that type. Even if they lose here, that type of team's going to come into Worlds hot. Looking to do some damage. And it was awesome to see him this MSI. Whether they lose to SKT or lose to IG or win the whole entire thing, I think this tournament has been a huge success for them because they've gotten to show the world that they're on the same level as the big two. China and Korea. They've gotten to show that they can play with anybody anywhere. They're definitely not going to lose to the bad teams in the LCK, unlike someone said once, maybe too many times. But G2, I think you could argue. I think that's a lot of confidence for them. You could argue that they could go over to the LCK and finish top three. I think they would finish top three. They're a really good team. They'd go over to the LPL and finish top three. But I think this has been phenomenal. But I agree with you. They are playing the type of game that this meta is almost forcing you to play. And the best two teams at this tournament, three teams at this tournament, two of them play it, and the other one's, still holding on to a little bit of the old style. So I agree with you. It's probably the most interesting matchup we're going to have at this tournament. Even if SKT and IG do play, I'm only concerned really is just seeing Faker and Rookie go at it. At least 3 games, hopefully 5.
Yep.
So I'm really excited about it. But thanks for joining me, Slink. I appreciate it. And we'll catch you all after the tournament's over.